Hey guys, um, now we're going to go over some solutions vocab. This will be the first video in this series. It's chapter 13 in your textbook if you're using your textbook. Otherwise, we'll just call it solutions. The first thing that we're going to go over is we're going to go over some of the vocab. So, there's 5 different main vocab words that we're going to start with. We'll probably have another vocab section coming up. That will deal with how do you calculate parts per million, molarity, things like that. But first, we need to know some basic vocab. So first thing is solution. You may remember solution from pretty much the beginning of the year. We did heterogeneous and homogeneous mixtures. If you remember those, a heterogeneous mixture is like a salad. It's where you can separate everything. If I mix together these pens, these expo markers, all that stuff, okay, I can separate them quite easily just by picking one apart and moving it somewhere else. That's a heterogeneous mixture. Salad, chili, anything like that. A homogeneous mixture is something, let's assume that there's something in here, okay? A homogeneous mixture, I have water. Actually, this is a homogeneous mixture because it's tap water. You remember that tap water had in it several different ions. It had potassium, chlorine, iron, copper, all these different compounds or ions that are dissolved in the water. You can't separate it just by even evaporation or vaporization. You can't separate it by that. You would have to do something chemically to separate out these ions. So a solution is just this. It's a homogeneous mixture. Okay? So any homogeneous mixture we will call a solution. So that's what we're focusing on during this unit, is right here. Next word is suspension. A suspension is like your orange juice. If you've read anything that says shake well before using, okay, the reason why you're shaking it is because after time it settles to the bottom. Okay, so if we think about orange juice, it has a lot of pulp in it, different good stuff from the oranges. With that said, you shake it. That way everything is mixed thoroughly and then you can drink it. If you don't shake it, the top is going to taste a lot different than the bottom. That's because all of those big particles with high densities actually fell to the bottom. Okay? They didn't stay in solution like we would think of salt and things like that. Okay, so suspension, think of orange juice. Think of anything that you have to shake before you drink it. Okay? Next word, next two will go together. It's solvent and solute. Okay? So this is when we combine two different things. We are going to talk about the solvent and solute. Okay? If I have, use the same one. This is a solution, right? It's a homogeneous solution of water and all the ions in it. Okay? Let's go ahead and put something in it and explain that to you. I'm just going to put some salt in it. So, I put some salt and swirl around. This is going to be a homogeneous mixture, again, so we would still call that solution. And what we would say is solvent would be the water. Okay, so solvent would be the water. And it's usually water. It's usually what makes up most of the solution. Okay, so when you think of solvent, you need to think of essentially the main ingredient in this solution. And it would be water in this case. The solute, which is right here, is what is dissolved in the water. Okay, so in this case, I dissolve salt in the water. So that'd be my solute. Okay, let's do it again just with something else. Okay, this is a different form of salt. Same thing. When I put it in the water, stir it, still a solution. Okay, those particles are going to stay in the solution. They won't come down like a suspension. And we would say the solute is the salt, the solvent is the water. Okay, so solute is what's dissolved, solvent is the main ingredient, what's doing the dissolving. Okay. Last one you need to know is called a colloid. The main example of a colloid is going to be milk. A colloid is when you have something called whey, or it's a protein essentially, a thing of fat concentrated in a solution. If you think about milk, it will say 1% reduced fat, 2% reduced fat. What that really means is that there's fat in your milk. If that's news to you, sorry. There is fat in your milk. And not only is there fat in your milk, but it doesn't act like a suspension. There's no sign saying shake well before using. And the reason is because when you drink milk, it's all together already. Okay? I'm going to give you a picture here in a second, but what happens is the fat is going to stay exactly where it is in the solution. Okay? And it's going to stay as a big form of fat. Here's an example of that. Okay? If you look at it, okay, just the circle, that represents the solution itself. The dots, it says flat global, okay, those are just little clumps of fat that are located in your milk. Okay, if you have less fat, you have less of that. If you have more, you have more of that. Okay, and we call this a colloid anytime that we have this type of fat or protein stuck in solution. Okay, it won't act as a suspension. That's kind of the key, is the difference between a suspension and a colloid. A suspension, those particles, which are large particles, fall to the bottom eventually, and then you have to shake to get it where you want it. With a colloid, it is actually stuck there. You don't have to do any shaking before you drink that beverage. Okay, so that's the basic 5 vocab words that you need to know. Okay, we'll continue this. It's all going to be video series, just so that you can go at your own pace. You can learn at your own pace. If you need to watch a video multiple times, you can do so. The key is, I know in the last series, some students didn't actually listen to the video. That is very important. That is very, very important. If you choose not to listen, that just means that you're really not going to understand the whole material. And then you're just going to need a lot of that one-on-one help that you could have got by watching the video. So if you have any questions over these 5 vocabs, let me know, and we'll continue the series. Take care.